pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, moving on to our council activity reports. I don't have a large report. We had a public safety meeting last week. The week prior, we discussed a number of things, including the speed signs and Highway 55 and 23 again, along with Lake Avenue, which, as I described in the paper last week, is sort of our petulant child, always demanding more attention from us. So hopefully we can get that wrangled under control. We've got some good ideas floating out there, and like I told everyone at the meeting, don't be afraid to let me know if I have to get on MnDOT a little bit and throw the title around if that would help. So otherwise, that's what I have for meetings. We've got upcoming policies and procedures later this week, which is ought to be just a real treat. So I'll go to my left. Neil?
I had a couple meetings. Friday we had property negotiation meeting with Brett, trailer court park owner. I believe Ron had sent him, or Chuck, 15 or 12 questions that he answered, and I believe tomorrow night it's on the work session. We'll probably go into a lot more detail. And we just got done with Public Works. Couple things there. We're looking at the sewer line to the high school. Talked about the 21 seal coat project putting off until 22. Looked at a 1-ton truck, comparing Ford and Chevy, the state bid, and water tower painting and irrigation bids for the new property that we purchased last year.
Thank you. Councilmember Brick?
I attended the Firefighters Relief Association meeting with Sean and Tark on the 26th, and then Paul and I toured Lewis Industries with Tark on the 3rd, and then we had a Park and Tree Board meeting on the 4th where we discussed the summer concert series, a possible new mower, and various improvements that we're going to try to do in the parks.
Councilmember Slaney?
I attended a liquor board meeting, and most of that will be on the agenda. Bill will fill us in with numbers.
All right. Councilmember Thielen?
Last Wednesday, I attended a tour of Lewis Industries with Megan. It was quite impressive. I can see where they're coming from when they need the blessing with the funding that's coming through, because it looks like they're going to keep moving upwards and onwards. And one thing interesting I found out, it was they have done some production in South Dakota, but they don't really want to go there because, quite frankly, it's South Dakota. So that's was something that was encouraging. At least they're going to try to keep it in this area. And then with Neil on the property negotiations on Friday, and with Ron and Chuck, that was very productive, moving in the right direction. At least we're going forward, and realizing it's going to take 18 months to 2-year project. So that about wraps it up.
Thank you. We have some department head reports. First on my list, liquor.
Thank you. You'll see in your council packet some of our numbers from last year as we wrapped up some of the highlights. We're up 28% or 430,000 over 2019. Profits are up 23%, around 82,000 above the previous year. And an impressive one, we served just about 71,000 customers last year. So that's a lot of people through the doors, and we're very thankful for it. All in all, it was a record year, and you're hearing that across the board as far as liquor stores nationwide. With that in mind, I'd just like to remind everybody it's a new year. We don't know what's going to happen this year, so keep that in mind. Although I'd like another record-breaking year, I don't know where it will go. January, we were up 25% over last year, so we're kind of keeping an eye on things as far as the industry goes. We're still having several out-of-stock issues with products because of the aluminum can shortage. So just to let everybody know, I'm pounding on salesman's phone every day trying to get product in there. And it's just that they're not making some of it right now. They're trying to keep up with the majors and not the minors. So, but we are on top of it, trying to keep going. A lot of legislative stuff coming up, nothing real serious yet, including for our side of the house on city-owned liquor stores, but I'm keeping everybody abreast if anything comes through. And then, last but not least, we have had so many requests for wine club, but just until those numbers come down and the mandates slow up a little bit, we're just going to keep trudging on with what we've got and just try and keep everybody safe. So bear with us. We want to have it just as bad as everybody else. Trust us. So we miss it too.
Great.
Any questions on the numbers? I can sure go over them with anybody at any time. So there's a lot in there to look at.
Any questions for Bill? Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Ron?
Okay, thank you. First of all, the speed radar sign that you alluded to, I do have the permit for that, so as soon as the frost goes out, we will be putting that one up. If any residents are concerned about their water freezing up, please just take a thermometer and check the temperature on it, and if it's getting to around that 37, 39 degrees, please give me a call and start running it. Sidewalks, if anybody has not cleaned their sidewalks yet, I'm sure they have received the letter. But if it does snow, again, we ask residents, please clean them immediately or as soon as possible. Just expanding on the park board meeting. They did bring up, or again, the dog park, that's come up numerous times over the years. I think one of the members is going to do a little bit of research on that. Improvements in the gazebo, that will be coming to the next council meeting. A little more discussion on the Ampey Park, that's the one that was really being targeted. And we are going to proceed and do a little design, more or less concepts, get some prices, and then start looking for numbers. It's a project that I think will be phased. Hopefully we can get the restrooms in as soon as possible. But as far as a pavilion and a facility with a kitchen, I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, or if any council members want to get their input in on exactly what we want to see out there. Please feel free to send it over or come talk to me anytime. And then also over at the RV dump, the members did discuss a informational sign, and that was approved to move forward also. The Stearns County Solid Waste Management, there is a 10-year plan on that, and it's up for renewal, and I was asked to sit on that committee. In the first meeting, the main items discussed, and there's obviously reduction, reuse, recycling, composting, waste to energy, which obviously is incineration, and then landfills. Obviously, our compost strictly right now is yard waste only. Could we go to food waste with that, with a little more permitting and oversight? Yes, we could. Do we want to? I guess that'll be something the environmental committee will have to take up. Ag plastics, I guess we haven't had a huge request for it. I guess it's something we can throw around at the committee level also. You know, when waste goes to incineration, it's about 80 to 90% that is burned up. The rest, 10 to 20%, is left in ash. So it is still filling up our landfills. And PCA has not permitted a new landfill site in a lot of years. So that may be up for discussion also. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mark?
Yeah. In addition to attending the Park and Tree Board meeting, liquor board meeting, and the special property negotiations meeting, and also touring Lewis Industries again, Ron Morgan, Bruce Stang from EDA, and I met with the owner of the Lake Avenue property on both sides to discuss kickstarting or trying to, see if there's any traction on getting a new industrial park going. Obviously, the good news is that the owner is motivated and would like to see what can be done, so that's positive, and we're going to be proceeding with that to see what we can do with him. Jennifer, Belinda, Bill, Spooner, and I had a call with Northland Securities to discuss, or to get more aware and more educated on TIF and tax abatement, since it's something that's going to be coming up soon. So we kind of got up to speed on that. And then also I want to look into, and Bill, you might appreciate this, what have other cities done, because we're talking recently, especially in the EDA board, about the reimbursement of liquor license. So I want to see what other cities have done. And it's good to know that other cities have done similar actions to what we have done here. Sartell, for example, have reimbursed all last year's fees, which for them totaled $35,000. Sauk Rapids did the same for 2020, and they'll probably extend it into 2021. St. Joseph waived 50% of off sale last year, and they might do it again this year. St. Augusta rebate or gave back 25% for on sale, and will likely do it again in June when it comes up. St. Paul did the same, 25% reduction on sale, and will likely do the same again in July. And lastly, Waite Park, the current year they reduced by 25%. So it's good to see that we're kind of moving along that line, or maybe we're even ahead of them. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions for either Ron or Tark? All right, thank you all. So we'll move on to our consent agenda, which consists of the minutes from the meetings listed on there, the vouchers listed on page 2 of our agenda, totaling $258,110.93, appointment filling the vacancy on the Park and Tree Board, the refuse licensing, and sending our officer to some additional training. Anything anybody would like to remove from the consent agenda? Otherwise, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Councilmember Hertzberg, seconded by Councilmember Soini. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That carries. On to new business. Liquor store resignation, found on page 8. I don't know if, Bill, you have anything additional to add there. Otherwise, Whitney Schaefer has submitted her resignation effective February 20.
Yes, Your Honor. I would like, we're not going to fill the position. I'm going to keep going with just the staff that I have. With the addition of the recent one last month, I think we're going to be okay until about summertime. I'd like to get in the habit of maybe hiring somebody just for those 3 busy months in the summer, which we'd probably start to advertise. Jennifer, May 1st would probably be about the best time to start hitting that up, possibly.
Probably a little bit earlier if you want to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And like
Well,
to get.
some of them will be out of school at first
True.
part of May.
So I think budget-wise, that would help our budget a little bit, and that's what I'd like to do going forward, just asking for your opinion on that as well. So right now, I've got pretty good ample staff. I can't see anything closing down like it did last year right now. I think we can keep going with what we have. Everybody wants the hours, so.
I think that makes sense to me. We can talk about that more with your liquor
Yep.
board and with policies, procedures as well, and
Okay.
figure all of that out.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
I'll make the motion to accept the resignation of Whitney Schaefer, liquor store clerk, effective February 20th, 2021.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Soini, seconded by Councilmember Brick, to accept the resignation of Whitney Schaefer, liquor store clerk, effective February 20th, 2021. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That carries. Liquor store transfer to capital improvement fund. Gene, I understand we get to hear from you.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, at the liquor board meeting, it was brought up that because we had a record breaker year, instead of our usual budgeted 40,000 or 45,000 to be transferred, we would still do that, but of the excess profits, we would put more into the capital improvement, is our recommendation. And it's up to the council kind of to decide how much of that after the audit is done and we know where we're at. So that was the discussion.
Do we have a rough idea what we're looking at?
unaudited numbers right now. We don't know that part of the payroll that gets us, 10 to 20,000. We don't know what those numbers will be. Prelim numbers are over 100,000 right now. But hopefully after next week, we'll have a more firm number on that. We were given 45,000 this year and next. In previous years, that money just went into our checking account and we could use it as we're going, but if we're ever to expand, we're going to need a cooler someday, probably sooner than later. So it'd be nice to put that money in capital improvement to get us ready for that time.
We would still keep some in the checking though,
Yes.
not all, yeah.
I have a question for you, Bill.
Yes.
So if you make improvements to the liquor store right now, say add a cooler, for some reason you were to move, would those coolers have to stay there, or could you bring those with you?
No, those are ours.
Okay.
The old cooler in there is ours.
Right.
It's got to be pushing 25 years old.
The only reason why I ask is under some circumstances, when you make improvement to a lease space, that you leave the improvements there. So I just wanted to make sure we're clear with that, so.
Yeah, no, that's our cooler and it would be ours as well.
All right, thanks.
Right. Is there any other discussion on that? Do we have a motion on that?
I'll make the motion to transfer any excess revenue generated at the liquor store in 2020 above and beyond the budgeted transfer to the city general fund be transferred to the liquor capital improvement fund with the amount to be determined following the 2020 audit.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Hartsburg, second by Councilmember Soini, as on the action sheet, to transfer any excess revenue generated at the liquor store in 2020 above and beyond the budgeted transfer to the city's general fund be transferred to the liquor capital improvement fund with the amount to be determined following the 2020 audit. I guess my only question as we go into discussion is, would it make sense to visit this after we know that final amount?
That was my thought too, is.
That's the question I
before
keep
we-
coming back to.
Yeah, but of course we didn't set an amount in this.
Right.
Right.
The motion just authorizes us to do this.
Yeah. I mean,
As I understand the motion, though, anything above that 45,000 automatically then is going to go to capital improvement. And that's why I'm wondering if we shouldn't,
Yeah, maybe we should amend it to say, will be determined after the audit. However you want to word, percentages will be determined, or amounts.
that is already in there, but at the first line, it says any excess, where we could just eliminate any and say some, or an amount, or something. Otherwise, I'm okay with waiting until the next meeting when we have the audit, or later.
Then if I could add to that, that if there's any improvements that need to be done, that we could have an idea of what it's going to be and what it's going to cost. So instead of just guessing at a number, we'll have something more concrete to work with.
I think we know some of those already at Coolers quite a bit.
Well, we do have
but-
substantial amount in capital improvement,
Yeah.
it's just, and we put money in there every year. We just figured this, since it was a great year, put more in the capital improvement.
And I'm all in favor of doing that. I think I would just prefer that we see what that total amount is before we make a blanket okay to move all of it.
And Your Honor, it's 37,500 for this year. 45 is next year.
Yep.
So
Oh,
I didn't think that was right.
I just got clarification from the treasurer.
okay.
Wonderful.
So she's creeping on us?
Yes, to both.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's where I'm at. If we want to do it, that's fine. I think personally, I'd rather see the final number, especially if we're contemplating coming back on this anyway.
So why do it twice?
Why do it twice?
Neil would have to rescind his motion.
Well, the motion can die for lack of a second.
Oh, yeah, there
Dean
was,
seconded it.
Oh, it was second?
Yeah, you seconded
I
it.
seconded it, I thought so, yeah.
Well, I'll just call the vote then unless anybody else has something to say. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed? Aye.
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 Okay, motion does not carry, and we will take that up once we get a final audit approved number. Okay, on to our updated packet. We have a letter from our auditor, Schlenner Wenner, regarding the need to perform a single audit. Jennifer can please correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand, a single audit does not mean that we're just doing one. It means that we're doing more than one because of the CARES monies along with the money spent at the airport hangar last year. So it's an additional, more detailed audit to verify the federal reimbursed funds.
That's exactly it.
I'll make the motion to approve the revised arrangement letter between the City of Painesville and Schlenner, Wenner and Company.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Slaney, seconded by Councilmember Brick, to approve the revised arrangement letter between the City of Painesville and Schlenner, Wenner and Company. Any further discussion on that? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That carries. Okay. On to old business, item A, on the water treatment plant repiping project. Looking to you, Chuck.
Yes, the water treatment plant repiping project is substantially complete and the air stripping tower is back online. So that one's nearing completion. There are a few punch list items that remain on that project that the contractor will need to take care of. So in addition, in the packet, there's a copy of pay request 2 for that project in the amount of $26,600 payable to Rice Lake for work completed in the month of January.
Any questions for Chuck? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve payment estimate number 2 payable to Rice Lake Construction Group in the amount of $26,600, no cents.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hertzberg, second by Councilmember Thielen, to approve payment estimate number 2 payable to Rice Lake Construction Group in the amount of $26,600. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That carries. 2019 street project. Looking to you, Ron.
Or Chuck.
Yeah, the 2019 project is complete. The contractor finished the punch list on that project this past fall. Just as a reminder, there still is warranty on that project. That all our projects come with a contractor has to commit to a 2-year warranty. So if something pops up, they still are responsible. In your packet is a copy of the final pay request for that project. And basically, all we're doing is releasing the retainage that was being withheld until they submitted all their final paperwork. So it's in the amount of $31,459.40.
Any questions for Chuck on that one?
Make the motion to approve pay estimate number 13, the final payment to Voss Plumbing and Heating of Painesville in the amount of $31,459.40.
Second.
I have a motion by Sony, seconded by Hertzberg, to approve payment estimate number 13, the final payable to Voss Plumbing and Heating of Painesville in the amount of $31,459.40. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same side. That carries. Okay. On to the wastewater treatment facility irrigation expansion project.
Yes, about it, last year in 2020, the city purchased an additional 160 acres of irrigation land for their wastewater treatment facility. At that point, after the purchase, a permit was submitted to the MPCA. We had to revise our discharge permit to get that site permitted. Well, MPCA has now gone through that process and put that permit out for public. There's a 60-day public comment period, so that just started about a week or so ago. So at this point, the next step in the process is to extend our irrigation force main over to that new site, and that new site sits west of the existing pivot number 17. So essentially what we're looking at doing with the plans is we'd extend the new 12-inch force main all the way from pivot 14 all the way over to the new pivot. It actually goes by pivot 17 as well. We have to upsize that portion of the force main that currently goes from 14 to 17 because it's too small to provide service to both those pivots. So if the council wishes to move forward with this, we would advertise for bids for this project next week and plan a bid opening for March 4th and bring the bids back to the council for the March 8th meeting.
This was just gone through the Public Works Committee right before this meeting. It is approximately 4,000 feet of pipe that we'll be putting in, and obviously this will take our wastewater system many years into the future. The irrigation site, I think we went through it last year too, but it is some very good irrigatable soils that will greatly enhance our system.
This money is in our sewer CIP?
This money will be taken out of the sewer equipment fund, yes, but it is there, yes.
I'll make the motion to authorize advertisement for bids for the wastewater treatment facility WWTF irrigation system expansion project.
I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Hertzberg, seconded by Councilmember Soini, authorizing advertisement for bids for the wastewater treatment facility irrigation system expansion project. Any further discussion on that? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That carries. I will just say to our new members, if you haven't had the chance yet to do a tour of our wastewater facilities with Ron, that perhaps come spring, make sure you do that. He's very informative and helps you understand how it goes. So, all right, on then to the rental ordinance under old business D. And looks like Gene or Bill, the two of you get to fight over who wants to talk about this.
I mean, I can just say that, you know, the hearing that was held, that, you know, the landlords definitely are opposed, I would say it's fair to say, to the ordinance. I would say Article 3 was universally condemned, and surprisingly, the thing that they seemed to have the least bad reaction to was the density provisions. And in my understanding when I took on this project was that the council wanted to see an ordinance that would address licensing of rental properties and the density issue. And so, you know, this does that. Stearns County has an ordinance. Stearns County's ordinance is not a licensing ordinance, but it covers, you know, many of the problems that I think we would be concerned about with rental properties. So the difference is that, you know, in a licensing ordinance, people don't have to complain to get, for there to be compliance, where under the Stearns County ordinances, people have to be brave enough to complain. And although the landlords universally said if anybody ever complains, they address the issue, but I think at least we had some indication from one of the members of the board that maybe that wasn't always true. So I don't know, but I think that was the concern of the council when we started this, was that some people don't have the courage to complain when they're, you know, living near the edge and maybe don't see other possibilities in their lives. And that's why I think we started looking at this. But so the Stearns County ordinance doesn't take care of that problem, but it takes care of a lot of the problems. It gives people an outlet. So, so that's, I think that they're, you know, universally the landlords were definitely strongly opposed. There's no question about that. So, and there wasn't really a discussion about, you know, if we did this, this, and the other thing, would this be more palatable? Would you be willing to work with this? They were, you know, they were just, to them, it was a dead letter. They didn't want to have any further discussion about what you could do to make it more workable. They were just opposed, period, end of story. So that was, I think, the feedback at the hearing was they just didn't like it.
And if we did move forward with it, they wanted to see a lot of changes. They had all kinds of complaints about it, so. And the planning commission did recommend not to proceed with it.
Okay. So when I watched the video, which at times was hard to hear everyone, and the complaints that I heard were, one, we couldn't tell how much this was going to cost for the licensing part, which is fair. We haven't discussed that yet. I know somebody made a comment about there must have been discussion that this would make money, but I would note the council has never discussed a fee. We have no idea. But then it was also the great expense that it would cost to bring some units up to code. And I guess I was wondering, was there any discussion about where this ordinance fell short and what would be overly burdensome?
They feel that a lot of the houses and things are older places, buildings, and that to bring it to current standards would be, a lot of it was doorways or ceiling heights and, you know, things like that that would just, and the majority of the land owners or landlords felt that if this did go into effect, their places would be put on the market and there would be less rental. And it's just, they were afraid it was just more
And that was
government
something,
controlling
that was something the
things.
council talked about too, and whether that's good or bad, I think that was something that was talked about at earlier points in this, was maybe it'd be good if those houses were on the market and people could buy them, that wanted to live in them and not rent them. That might be, you know, depending on how you look at it, that might be a good thing. You know, maybe owners would do the upgrades and that landlords aren't motivated to do, but I don't know that they would. You know, and landlords were concerned if those houses went on the market, then the market would be depressed because there'd be a lot of houses in that age range on the market at the same time. Maybe a legitimate concern, I don't know. It seems like the housing market in Painesville, though, it seems like when older houses go on the market, they do sell, but maybe that's because a lot of them sell for rental properties. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with the market for those, but those older homes, you know, you get homes that are in that $80,000 to $150,000, they seem to sell right away when they're on the market, so.
Yeah, I guess the reason why I was wondering what is so burdensome about our ordinance, because I heard from a couple of people on the video that this was redundant compared to Stearns County. So what I couldn't figure out is if Stearns County is already requiring these things, then what's the harm in us having our own ordinance if all we're adding is licensure? And I had a couple of really skeptical thoughts that I won't repeat, but I guess that's where it was. Is,
Well, Stearns County has an ordinance, why do we need one?
and I think that's a fair point as
And
well.
I guess I'm
I guess that's my
I'm a
point.
little disappointed that we didn't learn that Stearns County had an ordinance till how many months into this project? I mean, this is probably,
Yeah, my thing is, the Stearns County ordinance really didn't address what I thought the council wanted to address, which was licensing and density. I mean, I thought those were the two main things that we were really interested in. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that wasn't what council wanted.
well, licensing, I mean, we kind of pretty much know who has rentals. I think licensing was just a revenue to cover part of the expense of doing inspections and,
Oh, for sure, yeah. Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
And by no means is licensing gonna be a revenue generator.
No,
Yeah.
no, and it can't be. I mean, you can't, I mean, that's, you're not supposed,
Right.
you're not supposed to use licensing as a revenue generating. You're supposed to cover your expenses, and it's just hard to gauge what expenses would be when you're starting out something like this, but
My whole thing is, and it'd be very hard to enforce, but I'd sure like to see the renter landlords hand out new tenants a copy of the Stearns County ordinance. That gives them the phone number to call and explains what's all in there.
As far as I was aware, so I'm sorry, at the meeting, the city doesn't know how many, right? Wasn't that what they said? That they weren't sure how many because there isn't a licensing process, that they didn't know exactly how many rentals we had? Wasn't that addressed at the planning meeting?
I think we have just a rough idea from utility billings, but we don't really know.
Okay.
We do not have exact numbers.
Right.
We sent out 9 personal letters notifying them of the public hearing.
Right, and so that was what I felt was the main difference, is that with licensing, then we would know, and whereas with this, we don't.
I think the other big objection is they didn't like the idea that the wording said that the building inspector could come in anytime he wanted. That was a big complaint.
Yeah.
Because landlords aren't supposed to, you have to give notice. And that was the intention, was notice, but apparently they didn't read it that way.
Because I think what the intention was that they would only do that if there were a complaint by the renter, that they would come in and inspect, but it wasn't, and it said that at one point, I think, but then it wasn't, later on it was kind of vague, so I think the wording was a lot of the issue.
I guess my feeling was that the majority of the landlords that own property in town are local. And they do take care of their properties, and if most renters let their landlords know if there's a problem, and as long as they have another access to make a complaint, I just think that's just a fee, more work for our building inspector, and maybe it's not necessary at this time. I think we could do a density ordinance all by itself if we want to.
And that's the one that staff has concern about, because staff thinks it's going to be hard to track. And I get that.
And it would be impossible to track if we don't have some sort of licensing registry.
Right, because you'd never know.
Well, if we were going to do a license, it would need to be, I guess, personally, I feel it should be a minimum cost.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
$25 or something.
$25,
Yeah.
just so they know who's owning properties,
Yes, because,
without all this rules and regulations and, I don't know. The way it is, I'm not in favor of the ordinance we have, so.
One thing about Stearns County, we had 3 or 4 times they were used, they did come out, take care of the problem, hopefully. It doesn't make us the bad guys. If the county's willing to enforce and take care of the problems, I don't think we can beat it. And with that, I'll make the motion to deny the rental ordinance number 21-3rd series.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to deny the rental ordinance number 21, 3rd series by Councilmember Hertzberg, seconded by Councilmember Soini. Any further discussion on the rental ordinance from anyone?
I think this particular one isn't workable at this time, but I don't necessarily want to completely put the kibosh on any further possibility for the reasons we discussed. That's all.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I don't support the ordinance as it is, but I think it's an idea that we can all keep stewing on to see if there are provisions of this that we like and can make work. So. All right. Hearing no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor of approving the motion to deny the rental ordinance indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That carries. The motion, the rental ordinance is not adopted. All right, that concludes our business. Then we have a few items for informational. The first is the notice from PSN, which does our bill collection on our water bills for those who pay online. They are increasing the city's fee, especially for those who pay by credit or debit card. That will then start costing the city 3%, whereas if you put in your bank account information, it'll only cost the city 55 cents. So it helps if we pay less in processing fees, we can keep water and sewer rates lower. going forward, so just keep that in mind. Otherwise, we have our February and March meeting schedules, the liquor store report that Bill talked about, our West Central sanitation report, police department reports, and then a notice of a public hearing that was added to the packet from Stearns County Environmental Office. With no further business, we are adjourned.